Hello and welcome, all friends and devotees of yoga and Buddhist meditation reflections. Um, Welcome. I'd like to introduce you to my online institute. Um, for those who are watching my videos for the first time, this is the study of the wisdom resources, which I call the oracle of the Venerable Master Xingyun. Master Xingyun is a Chinese Buddhist monk who, in fact, is the greatest, I would say with absolutely no hesitations, is the greatest man that lived in my lifetime. The greatest man I know that lived in my lifetime. Okay? The greatest in sense of achievement, grand achievement, that is great works that a person can do. Master Xingyun is very wonderfully great. He started the Fo Guangshan Chinese Buddhist Foundation, and it's incredible. I'm not even going to bother myself too much trying to go into what Fo Guangshan has accomplished. The accomplishments of that foundation is just incredible. Okay, it's a Buddhist foundation, Master Xingyun established in China, in Taiwan, and that foundation has been all over the world, just promoting humanistic Buddhism, advancing humanistic Buddhism, and they've done wonders, something really close to miraculous, or in fact miraculous. I mean, Fo Guangshan has built universities all over the world. Fo Guangshan has built temples, hundreds of temples all over the world, thousands of monks and nuns. Master Xingyun is very, very prominent. Master Xingyun had the idea of teaching Buddhism to me as an African person. You see, he's the first person to have that kind of idea. Other Buddhist masters have not really considered teaching Buddhism to Africans. That's very important. Master Xingyun is the first Buddhist monk to practically step out to do that. Okay, Master Xingyun made that effort. He had the idea. Yeah, oh yes, Africans teaching, yes, we can teach Buddhism to Africans. See, the other Buddhist monks have not had that idea. Or that has not, Africans has not come into the minds of Buddhist monks. Africans as a people have not come into the minds of Buddhas. They have not considered trying to teach Buddhism to Africans. What about those people in Africa? Those black people over there, Africans, okay, a pretty large population. You don't even want to talk about population. Africans have a presence on the surface of this earth. So this is why Master Xingyun is so distinguished, because Master Xingyun shows how really fundamentally Buddhist he is. See, Buddhism is so plain. So Master Xingyun has this idea of, why don't we take these teachings all over the world? Why don't we take these teachings far and wide and try to reach out to everybody we can reach out to? And that included Africans. So that's why I respect the great man. Okay, Master Xingyun definitely is the first Buddhist monk in history to have thought this out in practical terms. I'm talking about practical terms. Maybe some Buddhists might have considered it, Africans, to try to teach some Africans Buddhism, and then they dismissed the idea quickly. They did not think it was important. Africans, they have Christianity or something. Okay, so Master Xingyun actually made that effort and started this great job in South Africa, and they started gathering Africans. See, they had faith in Africans. They believe, yes, Africans can learn Buddhism. Africans have the substance. Africans have the virtue. Africans can also practice kindness. They can live the life of non-violence. They can live the life of the practice of kindness and sympathy. And Africans can also participate in this. It's not just Asians or Americans or Indians or other groups, Russians or something. Africans are also a part of this United Nations system. Africans can definitely also practice Buddhism. Okay, so you have the resources, you have the people over there, and then he said, why not put it there, build a university over there, and start teaching the Africans also. They have the virtue, they can cultivate Buddhism. So if you check Nanhua Foundation in Bronkhorstspruit, South Africa, you're going to see a lot of black faces like me and you, and of course, wearing the same Buddhist robes that they wear in China and Japan. Check it, go online. Type Nanhua on your Google, nanhua.org, Nanhua Foundation, Bronkhorstspruit, South Africa. You're going to see what I'm talking about. So Master Singyun started this huge revolutionary idea, and you started seeing black monks. Nanhua, check it. They are there. I've seen it, so I know what I've seen it for decades. This was, Master Singyun started his job around the year 2000, around the turn of the millennium. They started the job in South Africa, so it's been, that's not new anymore. That's like almost 2 decades. That's 20-year-old history. They might have got doctorates out of those places by now. Very advanced students. So, but when it was really new, I didn't have the resource to go to South Africa. I saw that foundation when it was fresh. And I really thought, oh boy, I need to go to South Africa to go and join these guys and become one of the first African Buddhist monks. It was so pretty seeing those yellow robes and those brown robes on Africans for the first time in history. You see Reverend Father who are Nigerians and Reverend Fathers who are Africans wearing the white one, right? It looks nice, but what about the yellow? You see, they say the Buddhists, can you imagine? So it looks something really interesting. Where priests, Catholic priests, you see a lot of black ones, right? That no longer is of interest. It's been going on for some centuries now, right? So, but black Buddhist monks, when you see them in South Africa, it's of course, it shows it's kind of new. Right? I say, oh boy, black faces too in this. It's nice. So Master Singyun was the genius, the giant, the saint, the great man that was able to reason this out in practical terms. One thing is to think it out, another thing is to execute. You're talking millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars. The foundation is, you go and check it out yourself online. It's no small foundation. So, it takes money to execute, right? I've thought, as a Nigerian American, I've thought about building mighty Buddha temples in Nigeria. I've discussed it with foundations. I've discussed it when I was in Houston, Texas, actually, with Vietnamese monks. They have giant Vietnamese temple there. I lived with them for a decade. I was with the Vietnamese monks. I studied with them. I studied Buddhism under Vietnamese authorities in Houston, Texas. And I was actually resident in the temple for a while with them. And we consider strongly how to build. I try to get them, please, you folks, I try to, appeal strongly to them to help to support me to put the first Buddhist temple in Nigeria. It's under consideration, but it's not been executed. It's not easy. It would have been easier if I'm a Buddhist monk. So and I know that. And I'm not a Buddhist monk. I'm just a Buddhist missionary. I'm a layman, lay Buddhist missionary. I'm not a Buddhist monk. I'm not in the monastic existence. You see, so it's not easy when you're just a regular, ordinary person. If I was a Buddhist monk, maybe it would have been a little bit more influential to try to get them to do that, but I'm not a Buddhist monk. So it's a little bit more difficult to try to do that, but I have had this discussion with Vietnamese monks in Houston, Texas, and we are in the process, but it's a very slow process of trying to put the first Buddhist temple in Nigeria. Okay, but just to introduce to you folks who might be watching my videos for the first time to understand the challenges that we face. These things are not easy, right? So for Master Singyun to be able to break through all that, and be able to carry the people, you have to have the people and carry the people and execute and, start building. Really, it's very tough. Very tough. I've worked on this for a decade. For about 10 years, I was in Houston. It's not easy. Okay? So Master Singyun is most honorable for being able to do that, and not just a small building, one shallow building. If you see the structure that Master Singyun, just go to the internet and go and look at Nanhua in South Africa. you'll be dazed what you'll see. It's the largest Buddha temple you'd have set your eyes on online. It's a giant structure, very mighty, bigger than in many churches you would have seen. I mean, it is huge, very huge. And so is the one I just came from in Los Angeles, California. That was bigger than any church I ever saw in Nigeria. So the Master Singyung has this very grand style of building. He builds large structures. He doesn't build no small Buddha temples. He builds Buddha temples. If you see Master Singyung's Buddha temples, they'll stun you. He has stunning buildings. They are giant structures, very big. The one I just left in Los Angeles is the biggest one in the whole North America, US and Canada combined, and Mexico is the largest in North America. So Master Singyung has this kind of works. Nanhua, of course, is probably bigger than the one in Los Angeles. Nanhua is huge. It's really big, very mighty, and it has a lot of guest houses and all. It's really, the money was spent in that place. Okay, so that's Buddhism. It takes money to do it. It takes money to achieve these things. A lot of money. Otherwise, I would have built one in Nigeria. I have the spirit, I have the mind, and I have some resources and some ideas, but it's not yet practicable. If I build a Buddha temple, it's technically just my home, it won't take more than 10 people, then it's not a practical idea. See, if it's just my house, I mean, I have a home in Abuja that I'm building. So if it's just a place and another one in Esan land where I'm from, so I'm building my houses. So if it's just that you want to use as a Buddha temple, it's my personal property, then that's going to carry a population of about 10 people. So that's not a temple. So a temple, you're talking, you know, a population of at least 100 people. At least 100 people. And Nigeria is a very populous country. So if you're trying to build a realistic temple in Nigeria, you're talking a population of at least 500 Sita temple. You're talking a structure. And this has been my appeal to the Vietnamese in Texas and Chinese and all these. You know, I've been trying to appeal to foundations. It's very difficult to do that. You have to come up with a lot of your resources yourself and still get foundational help to achieve it. So Master Singyung is to be honored, most honored. I really honor him and admire him for being able to execute such great tasks. Not in one country, but in 100 countries. I mean, he does that all over the place. So that's very honorable. You see, Master Singyung is most honorable. Here are his words for those who are new to my website. Listen to the words of our Grandmaster Singyung. Birds gather where trees are lush and green, and fish breed where the ocean is deep and wide. As humans, we must first strengthen ourselves before we can provide others with shelter. Some people are physically fit but are unwell in their mind. They are not as healthy as those who are physically disabled but have a positive attitude in life. In strengthening ourselves, we need adopt the following guidelines regarding our thinking and mental outlook. It is more important to have morals than money. Most people wish for financial success. However, money does not necessarily solve one's problems, and rich people are not always happy. When we consider historic figures like Mahatma Gandhi, okay, or Sir Thomas More, both of whom lived very difficult lives, we can appreciate them as great men with ethics and principles. On the other hand, if we consider a Nero or Hitler, we will recognize both rulers as immoral. We can see from this that someone with morals can live forever in people's hearts. Therefore, ethics and morals are far superior to money and power. 2. These are what I call the treasures of the Venerable Grandmaster, treasures of wisdom. You really want to possess these treasures. They are lovely treasures. Okay, so the second golden key or golden treasure of wisdom, okay, from our most honored Venerable Master Singyung. It is better to be content than to have fame and fortune. Many rich and powerful people in the world are not necessarily content with their lot. They may not know how to make good use of their wealth or be very greedy. seeking endlessly for more. They may be rich in wealth but poor in reality. Some people may be penniless, but their days are filled with joy and contentment because they can see the beauty of the world. Even though they do not possess any riches, they live a rich life. Therefore, joy and contentment constitute the greatest wealth in life. 3. Going to the third treasure. It is better to help ourselves than seek it from others. According to the saying, while it is difficult to rise to heaven, it is even harder to seek help from others. When we have to ask for help from others on every matter, life is certainly difficult. Someone once asked, why does Guanyin Bodhisattva hold a string of beads in her hand? What is she reciting? The answer is, she is reciting the name Guanyin. What does Guanyin recite? Why? Why does Guanyin recite her own name? Because it is better to help oneself than to ask others for assistance. That is why we have to train. We have to train. Write it down. Write that word down, train. We have to train. We have to train. I like that word and I like that statement. Okay? We have to train. That is why we have to train. Strengthen, and be responsible for ourselves. Okay? I like the word train. You have to train. Everything in this world has some kind of training for it. Everything in this world has some kind of training and some kind of wisdom. Every matter on the surface of this earth, there's some kind of wisdom for it. And you need to have some kind of training for it. People lack training and people lack wisdom, and that's all the problem they have. They lack training, they lack wisdom. So if you are trained for every business, you will thrive. If you have the wisdom for every matter, you will succeed. Okay? The last one. It is better to motivate ourselves than to lose our spirit. Many people, when faced with setbacks and hardships, give up on what they had set out to do. Worse still, they lose their drive and spirit as they slip into the pit of despair. People like this will never succeed in life because they must realize that without going through bone-chilling cold, the plum blossoms will not emit their fragrance. The more it rains on us, the more we should strive. The more difficult the times, the more we should rise to the occasion with spirit. After all, failure is the mother of success. When we are able to learn from the experience of our setbacks, we will surely succeed one day. Okay? And of course, Master Singing does the normal thing that he will always do, which is summarize. Therefore, in strengthening ourselves in life, we should be mindful of the above. That is the summary. Folks, reflect and meditate on these resources of wisdom. Namo Amitofo.